The doctor finally came back in with the results. Amanda, your tests all come back normal. I don't think there's anything physically wrong with you, but you are sick. My professional opinion is that you're depressed. Of course, being the Bible-toting religious person that I was immediately offended. Oh no, I'm not claiming that, I thought. I'm not depressed. Okay, so I might be a little discouraged, but I'm not one of those people who's depressed. I was insulted, outraged, annoyed, you name it. I quickly thanked him for his time, checked out, and returned to the waiting room. You're depressed? Really? Well, join the club. I'm depressed too. I've been depressed since we got married. I'm depressed every day. I've been sitting in this waiting room with a crying baby for 3 hours because you're depressed? Unbelievable. Take me home. I'm going to play ball. That night, I realized the hard truth. The doctor was right. I was depressed. I loved my daughter with everything in me, and I was not depressed about her, but I was severely depressed about my marriage, and most importantly, about myself. How had I allowed myself to be in such a highly dysfunctional marriage for this long without leaving? This was not me. 8 years prior, if you would have told me that this would have been my life, I would have been insulted. I would have thought, wow, is that really all you think of me? But there I was, depressed, miserable, and defeated. I was exhausted. For years, I held on tightly to the hope that God would eventually bless my marriage. That if I prayed long enough and hard enough, it would get better. As I thought more and more about that day in the emergency room and the looks on those people's faces as I looked at that situation through the eyes and ears of my daughter, I realized that this was unacceptable. This was not how I wanted to raise her. This was not the kind of mother I wanted to be for her. Something had to change. I decided that I could either sit around and have a pity party, or I could seek God for the wisdom that I needed so that I can change my dysfunctional situation. So this course is actually the result of a book that was created when I was at my wit's end. It was actually the last straw of my marriage when I decided, okay, enough is enough. This is toxic. This is not God's will. I got to get out. I had been having shortness of breath, and I almost dropped my daughter one day when I was trying to rock her to sleep. So I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm going to the doctor. I'm going to figure out what's wrong. So I took my then husband and my daughter to the doctor, the emergency room, the next day. Of course, as emergency rooms are, they were backed up, and I was in there for several hours just for the doctor to tell me that there was nothing physically wrong with me. His best guess is that I was depressed and had anxiety, and what I was experiencing with the shortness of breath was panic attacks. So, of course, as any quote unquote religious person, Christian person at the time, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm not claiming that. I don't know what you're smoking, but I'm not doing that. But as I was on my way home, I was being berated and told that I was being an inconvenience, that he was not able to do what he wanted to do that day and have his fun that day because he was stuck in the emergency room with me and a crying child. He should be the one that was quote unquote depressed because he was married to me. And as I'm sitting there saying nothing, looking out the window, because at this point I'm numb. At this point, this has happened so many times. I'm not saying anything. I'm not doing anything. I'm just waiting for the storm to pass. But it's like, you know, in those moments where you think to yourself, look at this. It's like you're out. It's like an outer body experience. You see yourself and you see the situation as if you're an outsider, and you look around and you say, what is happening? Why is this my life? Why am I putting up with this? Why am I still here? If any of this sounds familiar and you've been in this situation, let me tell you, my friend, you are in a toxic marriage, and I am so sorry. My name is Amanda Nicole, and I run a company called Freedom Through Divorce. I make personal development courses for women of faith that are in toxic marriages. If this sounds like you and you'd like to get some information about what you can do to help fix your marriage, what you can do to get out of your marriage, and what God has to say about the toxic marriage that you're in, please visit my website at www.freedomthroughdivorceshop.com.
I am Amanda Nicole, and I am the CEO of Freedom Through Divorce. And so I create personal development courses and ebooks and all kinds of things that are geared towards women of God who have been through divorce, who are considering divorce, and who want to move towards freedom and finding their purpose in God.
So, what is Freedom Through Divorce? Well, Freedom Through Divorce is actually an online school full of personal development courses for women of God who have been through divorce or who are considering divorce. Anyone who has had to deal with divorce understands that it is extremely difficult. There are so many balls that you have to juggle. Will the children be okay? Is this something that God is going to be okay with? How does it affect my relationship with God? How am I going to learn how to be independent as a new single person or a new single mom? And there's so many things you have to consider. And as a Christian, there are just so few resources out there to help you understand how to navigate those things. So this is a school that really goes from considering divorce and understanding God's views on divorce, when it's acceptable, when it's not acceptable, and understanding that there are so many more cases where God sees divorce as acceptable than what is normally taught out there. And it does it in a way that is not condescending, that's not judgmental, that is just giving you the information from God's heart. And most importantly, is from someone that's been through what you're going through. It's not just theology. It's not just, I read this or I heard this, but it's someone that's actually walked through it. So the personal development courses are meant to help you move and experience freedom through divorce, because there's so many people who they get a divorce, but they don't thrive afterwards. They stay stuck. They stay bitter. They stay telling anyone that'll listen how terrible their ex is. And that's not God's plan for you. God wants you to be able to move towards the purpose and plan that He has for your life and to thrive so that the chapter of your life post-divorce is better. That's what the word says. It says your latter days shall be greater than the former days. So that's what Freedom Through Divorce is all about. It's personal development courses that you can take the information from a biblical perspective and experiencing God's freedom, His prosperity, His love, His joy, His peace, all of the fruits of the Spirit and the blessings that He sent His Son to die for you to be able to have. Just because you've had to go through a divorce does not mean that you are negated from the promises that God has for you. So that's what Freedom Through Divorce is. If you're interested in learning more, visit our school today.